I'm Lauren. I have a PhD in molecular biology, and in a lot of my TikToks, I kind of vaguely reference how we have all of the instructions for life in our DNA. And I think I'm finally ready to break it down and explain what I mean because this is so important for us to understand. When we think about what is life and what is the purpose of life, I think about energy. And energy exists in the universe without life. But life has learned how to contain and flow energy through our vessels. We're made up of cells, and a cell is like a little contained piece of space and matter that energy flows through. And when we think about this on an ecosystem level, our greatest source of energy is the sun. And that energy arrives in the form of photons that get absorbed into the chloroplasts of plant cells, where they store that energy in carbon-carbon bonds and make sugars and all kinds of other molecules, which then the rest of life can consume, including us. And when we take in those carbon-carbon bonds, we can break them down and release that stored energy. And it gets used for all of the processes that our cells do. Everything from growing and dividing to even my brain firing signals and me talking to you right now. And all of those processes require our cells to make the right biomolecules at the right time so that we can catch and move that energy through us. And the instructions for making and working with all of those biomolecules are in our DNA. And cells don't read all of the instructions all of the time because that would be such a waste of energy and it would be so distracting when we need to focus on what is the appropriate way to be functioning in the environment. And so there's also programs in our cells that activate certain genes and certain codes depending on interactions with our environment and the world around us. We're here today because our ancestors worked alongside all the other organisms and flowed with the rhythms of nature. And then those codes were passed down generation through generation across time to us today. So the predicament that we find ourselves in today is that we've been separated from nature, right? We're not living in the same world and the same environment that we evolved to thrive in. And so that energetic flow through our cells is not happening in the way that it has been for most of human existence. And what that causes is something that I like to call energy stagnation. I think that all of the diseases that we're dealing with today are a result of this. For example, metabolic disorders, which are at the root of most chronic illnesses, including cancer, heart disease, I could go on. Metabolic dysfunction happens when there's too much energy gumming up the system and it's not being expended. And this can come from things like eating too much food or, processed food and not exercising or expending that energy enough. But on a more subtle level, our bodies activate our stored energy whenever we're stressed out. And if we're not using that energy to actually go and solve the problem that we're stressed about, then it stagnates. That energy stagnates and it causes all kinds of problems and illness within us. That's where depression comes from. It's literally connected to everything. Everything comes back to some sort of energy stagnation because stagnation is the opposite of what life is here to do. Life is here to make energy flow. When energy stagnates, that's when things are dead. There's so much that we don't know. There's so many abilities that maybe if we did know about them, things would be very different. I've been tapping into some of that stuff, and let me tell you, it has changed the way that I see this whole universe. So yeah, I think that's all I have for now. There's a reason why people go through years of school for this. So I can't really expect myself to be able to do it in a 3 or 4 minute TikTok, but let me know if you have any questions, and I'm gonna keep on trying to do this because I want to get better at explaining it, and at some point I want to get into the research that I did during my PhD because that is really eye-opening in itself. Thank you for listening.